Good to go. Good morning, everyone. Hello, I am playing Gail today. Thanks so much for coming today. Today is a special day. As many of you know, it is Wikipedia Day, the 14th anniversary of the creation of English Wikipedia. So happy birthday, everyone. I also have a very special announcement to make. As some of you may have seen on Wikimedia L, we were just awarded a very special prize. The Premium Erasmium Foundation in the Netherlands has just announced that they are going to award the community of Wikipedia contributors the Erasmus Prize for 2015, which is one of the Netherlands' most prestigious prizes. It will be awarded to a group of Wikipedians this fall by the King of the Netherlands in recognition of, let me take a look at what they said, a person or institution that has made an exceptional contribution to culture, society, or social science. It's the first time a prize of this nature has actually gone to a community of contributors as opposed to an organization, so it's a big deal on their end. And what they wanted to let us know is that Wikipedia has received the prize because it promotes the dissemination of knowledge through a comprehensive and universally accessible encyclopedia. To achieve that, the initiators of Wikipedia have designed a new and democratic platform. The prize specifically recognizes Wikipedia as a community, a shared project that involves tens of thousands of volunteers around the world. We all know that number is actually a little bit bigger, but so I wanted to say congratulations to the community, congratulations to all of you on a very special award today on the 14th anniversary of Wikipedia. Now we have some new people who are joining us today or as conversions, and I just want to make sure we recognize all of them. I'm just going to go through the list, and please make sure at the end to go and say hello to all of our new colleagues. Brian Gerstel, who's joined us on the mobile team. Corey Floyd, also on the mobile team. Marco Obervach in features in France. Kartik Mistry on our language engineering team in India, who's a conversion, and so many of you may know already. Catherine Abu has joined us in fundraising. Anath Ramakrishnan has joined us in analytics. Janelle Shanaki has joined us in fundraising. Aaron Palmer is a new addition to our legal team. James Buati, also on our legal team. And finally, Michelle Nguyen, on our UX team. Welcome to all of our new colleagues, and please make sure to say hello. All right, over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Catherine. So, as you may recall, we have started to pick one theme every month that we want to focus on, and the focus for this month's meeting is quality. And I wanted to start with a little bit of theory. Can I ask who remembers this graphic? So, about like a fourth of the people in the room. So, when we were a little nonprofit, we did what many little nonprofits do. We tried to figure out how do we make change in the world. And there are these things that little nonprofits are advised to do, which is to develop a theory of change. A theory of change helps you map out the causal pathways that help you understand how you make a difference. So the theory of change that we came up with 5 years ago with the help of some consultants is this one. If you have more readers, you get more editors. If you have more editors, you get more quality. If you have more quality, you get more readers, and round it goes. All of this is supported by an improved platform. My theory of change is that if you stare at this long enough, you will want to eventually edit Wikipedia. Be bold. Be bold. But seriously, like, do we actually get more editors by getting more readers? Who believes this is true? We get more editors if we get more readers. Be bold. Seems reasonable enough, right? But it's not that simple. From around 2007 to 2012, we had an annual growth in our readership of about 20% every single year. Readership kept going up and up and up and up. Editorship, flat. There is no simple, direct link. Just because we get more readers, we don't automatically get more editors. There are many other things that prevent people from becoming editors.
The number of active editors being flat doesn't mean you didn't get editors from readers. It's balanced by attrition or whatever.
What Asaf is saying, like, we could have gotten more editors, but maybe they didn't stick around.
Or they were balanced by other attrition.
Which is, however, then they're not really, then this cycle isn't really working. Like, there's.
It doesn't disprove the idea that more readers brings.
I'm saying it does not disprove the idea that...
Let's move the discussion at the end, but I think Asaf's point is well taken. There are many people who try to make it into the system but fail. And that is precisely the reason why it's not a simple math of just increasing the number of readers leads to more editors. What about participation? Does increasing the number of editors lead to increased quality? Who believes this is true? Increasing the number of editors leads to more quality. It's probably more true, right? Like, especially if we look at the editor metric that we have, the active editor metric, because those are the folks who make it through the quality control mechanisms that we have in the community and therefore manage to participate. That being said, a naive view of participation, if we just look at people who spend time on the site doing stuff, obviously has very little linkage to quality. Does quality lead to more readership? Who believes this to be true? More quality content leads to more readers. Interesting, right? This one we actually have the least understanding of. Not least because we just don't really have a good measure of quality. So it's very hard to correlate data if you only have one variable. But one thing you can reasonably hypothesize is that in some areas, yes, it helps you build readership. In others, it probably doesn't. What does it mean to focus on quality? Well, when we've thought about this before, our main concern has been that if we just focus too much on quality, we exacerbate potentially some of the attrition trends that Asaf has mentioned. We make it potentially harder for people to edit. So I'm not convinced that quality alone is the most useful lens, but what if we focus on knowledge? What if we focus on that, which we're actually here to do? And quality is one dimension of knowledge. If we focus on knowledge, then we have to measure the quality of the knowledge that we have in our projects. We have to have consistent ways to understand how we're doing. If we focus on knowledge and not just on quality, then we have to support the communities that we have, but we also have to support the communities that we don't have. We have to build new communities that help us close the gap in our coverage. And so with this overall framing in mind, that I want to introduce you to the three presenters that we have today. First presentation by Aaron Halfaker is going to focus on strategies to measure quality, and specifically one strategy, which is to build scalable machine learning-based services that help us to understand quality across our projects and to build an ecosystem of innovation that lets many people contribute to the quality metrics that we use. Quality and the measurement of quality is very, very difficult. And the strategies that Aaron is talking about today, to me, are the most promising that I have heard so far to truly build scalable metrics for quality. We have tried to build metrics for quality in the past. We have tried to build reader feedback-based metrics. We have done sampling-based measurement of quality, where we've asked experts to validate the quality of specific articles. All of those approaches had flaws. This one, I think, is the most promising to give us some good indicators across the board. Aaron's presentation is going to be the most technical of the day, but I urge you to ask questions or park your questions for the end, because I think this stuff is really important. The second presentation is by Jake Orlowitz. Jake has presented here a couple of times before on a project that he's been leading called the Wikipedia Library. This very much falls into the second category of supporting existing communities in the development of free knowledge. What do our communities need? Well, one of the things they need is access to quality sources. And that is what the Wikipedia Library is about. The third presentation is a guest speaker, Frank Schulenburg, who's also brought many of the members of his team, who's the executive director of the Wiki Education Foundation. He was also an employee of the Wikimedia Foundation for several years and a Wikipedian for a decade. Frank is going to talk about the work that he's been doing with the Wiki Education Foundation to engage with academia, with universities, with classrooms, to directly work with students to improve article quality. This very much falls into this category of building new communities, communities that are different from the ones that we have, communities that help us close gaps. I'm going to give you some takeaways, and also Sico Buteres is going to give an update on the contributors research that we're doing and how it relates to quality data. Before the discussion with that, I'm going to hand it over to Aaron for the presentation on revision scoring as a service. This is a remote presentation, so I'm going to switch over.
Hey folks, just let me know when everybody should be able to see my slides.
Whoa.
Whoa.
This is people being amazed by your slides, Aaron.
It is a pretty bombing slide.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. So today I'm going to be talking to you about a project that actually started as some volunteer work for me. And so that's why I list my volunteer account, user epoch fail first. But since this project is getting some nice support, it's sort of blurring the line. This is also an IEG-funded project, and so it's allowed me to work with some Wikipedian volunteers. Without further ado, I'll just get started. Okay, so there's three things that I want you to eventually take away from this presentation. I'll cover these again once I'm done. One is that artificial intelligence-based tools are critical for quality control in Wikipedia, and it's been that way for a long time. Two, that artificial intelligence is hard. It requires expertise, and this makes it difficult to work with these sort of tools. And three, that by wrapping artificial intelligence in libraries and services, we can enable new tools and enable Wikipedians to do new things, new strategies for maintaining quality and finding quality. So, all right, so I want to talk to you first about how you might think of Wikipedia before we had AI-based quality control. So from 2001 to about 2006, really the only thing that stood in between Wikipedia and random people on the internet was the recent changes feed. And when Wikipedia was small, this worked really well because you could track the recent changes feed. But as Wikipedia started to grow, it started to become unmanageable. And especially around the times when Wikipedia started to show up in the popular media, vandalism started to grow. And so Wikipedians reacted. And they built a set of filters that filter the edits that come into Wikipedia so that by the time that you see them in the recent changes feed, they've probably already been dealt with if they're damage or vandalism. And so I want to highlight a few that are prolific in English Wikipedia. Cluebot reverts about half of the vandalism that comes into Wikipedia. It's an automated robot. It reverts within about 5 seconds of the original edit. It's very fast, it's very good, but it only really works with egregious vandalism. And so Huggle and Sticky are human computation tools, which really just means that there's an AI that's finding edits that are likely to be vandalism and showing them to humans so that they can make the final judgment. And together, these three systems account for reverting almost all of the vandalism in English Wikipedia. And so they take a lot of the work away from the recent changes feed. So once you're actually looking at something that's been in Wikipedia for a few minutes, it's probably not vandalism. So one of the things that's interesting about these tools is they are all using a very similar approach to identifying which edits are probably damaged, yet they all have their own separate artificial intelligences that are doing this. Cluebot uses a neural network approach, Huggle uses a rule-based approach, and Sticky uses a support vector machine. And really, the thing that I want to explain to you here is that these were developed in parallel. They're not sort of benefiting from each other, although once they actually make these reverts on Wikipedia, they do work together with some of the process stuff. Their AIs are totally separate. And now I want to give you a sense for what this AI really does. And so I picked a revision, this revision with the ID 638.307.884. You can see I have this diff beneath it that shows you that in this edit, this weird user eloquence that I came across, was fixing a link in Wikipedia, making sure that it went to the appropriate page. And so what I can do with one of these AIs is I can ask it, for this revision ID, how would you score this? Is this a good edit or a bad edit? And so this is how the AIs tend to respond. So in this case, I'm using Sticky's AI to ask this question. So on the top, for eloquence fixing a link, it gives a low score, which means that it's probably good. It's probably not vandalism. But if I take another edit, one that was more obviously damaging to me, by this user blank 123456789, which by the way is not a made-up username. I actually found this edit with this username. Replaced a paragraph with llamas grow on trees. That got a much higher score, so it was probably damaging. And so you can imagine the Sticky user interface will flag this edit by blank 123456789 and ask a human to review it. This is what these AIs are doing. So AI is important for quality control. It's powerful, it's fast, and the way that these tools that I've been talking about work minimize human efforts so that Wikipedians can spend more time writing encyclopedia content than finding vandalism and removing it. But AI is hard. It turns out that if you dig into the academic literature, there's been more than 20 research papers written on specifically the subject of detecting damage in Wikipedia. And further, machine classification is not part of a standard computer science degree, which probably wouldn't matter anyway because a lot of tool developers in Wikipedia don't have a computer science degree. And even if they did, even if you have a background in this area and you know what you're getting into, it's labor intensive. There are a lot of performance considerations, so it's a pain to have to do these things over and over again. So each tool ends up building this on its own, and that seems sort of like a waste of effort to me. Oh, and I forgot to mention too that these tools primarily exist in English Wikipedia. Huggle is a notable exception, but it certainly works best on English Wikipedia because that's where the rules were developed. So now I want to introduce you to this project, this idea of a revision scoring service. So I've been working on this project. I'm in the Research and Data Department at the Wikimedia Foundation. I also have a couple of individual engagement grant funded users, Helder and Tuaro Shironeku, and a set of volunteers who have been pushing on this project with us. So what we're trying to do is build one AI to support them all. So as I was saying before, each one of the tools that I was highlighting earlier that I aim towards quality control Wikipedia have their own AI. What we want to do is build one AI that tools like this can draw from. And not just tools like this, not just these quality control tools that I've been talking to you about, but other tools as well. So I haven't talked about these other tools that use revision scores like HostBot, which invites good newcomers in Wikipedia to the tea house. And Snuggle, which is the human computation interface that corresponds to HostBot, that will bring good newcomers to your attention so that it's easier to find them and mentor them. And really, we're curious, too, about the other tools that people will spin up if this hard problem is already solved for them. And all they need to do is put the user interface on top of the revision scores that will serve the purpose. So we're planning to release first in English, Portuguese, Turkish, and Azerbaijani Wikipedias. We still have a few language features to figure out for Azerbaijani, but the point that I want to make is that the strategies that we're using in order to perform this revision scoring are language independent from the start. The way that we're going to release this and allow other people to use it is in two forms. One is the web service, and this is where we expect most people to make use of this system. So just like I was demonstrating earlier with Sticky, you'll be able to send a request to a revision scoring service that will exist on Labs. You can give it a revision ID that you'd like to have scored, and it will return you a probability that that revision was damaging Wikipedia. The other option is we'll be producing model files. And a model file is really like saying we're wrapping up the artificial intelligence and putting in a file so that you can download it. These will be about 100 kilobytes to a megabyte, so they'll be very small, very easy to package up and send around. And I have this little code snippet demonstrating how this would actually work. You can see that this is just 4 lines of code. We'll get you started with classifying an edit in Wikipedia. So now to the final point that I want to make, which is that we can grow a wiki technology ecosystem with this sort of strategy. And we're not alone, that there are a lot of sort of efforts that are building into this project and feeding into what we're hoping to develop. First is this IEG funding system for distributed innovation. Without this, the grantees that I'm working with couldn't have spent the time working on this project. Wikimedia Labs is the platform that we want to build on top of. It provides the raw materials and shared space for us to be able to work together and provide a service like this. And we're also working with the services team who have this shared vision of an ecosystem for builders. The idea that we can put together services that will enable Wikipedians, tool developers, and other people outside of our organization, our volunteer community, to build powerful tools that help them solve their problems. So back to the three things. So one, Wikipedia needs artificial intelligence. And it's hard, but we're going to make one of the important artificial intelligence systems easy to use so that people can take advantage of that. And we hope that this is going to move forward with growing the ecosystem of high-tech wiki tools that empower Wikipedians. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. And we're going to take questions at the end. Let's see. But I wanted to point out one thing, just in case you're reflecting on this presentation and you're thinking, this is just about vandalism, right? This is not really actually helping us measure quality. Actually, this is a general framework, right? This is a general way to build these machine learning classifiers. And what these machine learning classifiers do can be very different. Like it could be predicting vandalism, but it could also be counting the citations or counting the number of images, predicting quality characteristics of an article. And in fact, one of the classifiers that you've been working on is one that actually predicts whether an article matches the community-based classifications. Do you want to just say like a few words about that, Aaron?
Yeah, I appreciate that you brought this up, Eric. So in giving this presentation, I kind of wanted to talk about our killer use case, which is these quality control tools and the tools that help you find good newcomers to support. But it's totally right. In our first release, we're going to have a version of this article quality classifier. In fact, there's already model files that you can download and stand up a classifier. What we're going to do is wrap that up in this service. But you're right too in that the architecture that we're building up will allow you to do any kind of scoring you want. So if it's article quality you want to get at, cool, we can build a classifier for that. If it's damage you want to get at, we can build a classifier for that. Or maybe it's a good faith edit that you want to classify for. That seems like a tractable problem. I'd like to look into that.
And ultimately, this ecosystem of services that Aaron is talking about can support machine learning-based classifiers, and it should eventually grow to also support human classification efforts, all through simple standard APIs for scoring and for retrieving scores for specific versions of articles. So if we build these services first, then we can build applications, whether it's reader-focused applications, whether it's filters, whatever it is that we want. Like if you want to package only the best article selection in a certain area, like all of those things become possible once you have high-level services that give you these functions. So I want to move on to the next presentation. Thank you again, Aaron, in the deck. And so this is the Wikipedia library. So let me actually just move very quickly advance to Jake's part in the slides. There, you get to see it once more, just for memorization purposes. Questions for you at the end? Just kidding. Okay, there you go. Jake, take it away.
Hi everyone, it's great to be talking in metrics again. I like coming after Aaron because it reminds me that the process of creating quality really is an ecosystem. It requires a lot of different approaches, and some of them are kind of machine enhanced, and some of them are human directed, and both approaches are really important because the spectrum of quality is wide. So I take a different approach with working on quality, which is pretty simple and direct, which is if you want to improve quality, you should simply arm your super users to the teeth with the best reliable sources for free, full text, no hurdles to jump over. And that's what the Wikipedia library has been doing for the past 3 or 4 years in different capacities. I want to start with a story because I really can't say it better than one of our editors, a Persian editor named 4NN1L2. Things changed when the international sanctions against Iran expanded and included banking transactions. Suddenly, subscription fees could not be paid, and the growing difficulties reduced my motivation to work on Wikipedia for free. However, thanks to the Wikipedia library, I received JSTOR access, which incorporates Iranian studies. This new access allowed me to continue my work on articles like Kelly Dar, the longest Persian novel, and the biography of Hussein Faiz Kashifi, a prolific prose stylist and influential preacher of the Islamic world. I have not nominated them for good articles yet, but I'm going to do so in the near future. JSTOR access is a must for Persian Wikipedia editors, not just due to the lack of reliable sources in Iran or Afghanistan, but because of the systemic bias and censorship that is so prevalent among books published in these countries. I even consider the Wikipedia library a helpful project to counter the systemic bias in English Wikipedia itself. While every river or hill in North America or Europe has its own article, many vital issues concerning developing countries have not been covered. By getting global editors like me free access to rich digital libraries, we will be even more encouraged to write decent articles about our culture and geography in your language. And that was posted on the Wikimedia blog. And I love that story because it shows that the Wikipedia library is really deeply personally meaningful to editors who, frankly, I didn't think when this started on English Wikipedia that we would be able to reach. So briefly, the Wikipedia library started as a hobby of mine. I called up a research aggregator called HighBeam and I said, could I have an account? And they said, and then I said, when maybe I could have some of my editing friends get a couple, and they said, would you like 1,000? And I thought that, oh, when maybe Wikipedia opens doors, maybe I'm onto something. So I kept doing that. It's a little addictive. And in 2012, early 2013, I applied for a WMF individual engagement grant and expanded the library and start to kind of move from just one-offs to a process that scales. And this September, I came on full-time with the Wikimedia Foundation to grow this dramatically, both in terms of the number of partnerships that we have and also our ability to scale and reach editors globally, not just on English Wikipedia. So what have we done so far? We've given out about 3,700 accounts to 2,000 individual editors. And just for demographics, about a fifth of them are active outside of English Wikipedia, even though we've just barely started to really push in that direction. And what we see is that our partners have dramatic increases in usage. So some of the highlight cases, you know, in the trailing month compared to 6 months out after we start a partnership where a resource, a publisher like JSTOR will give us a donation, you know, we've seen 200% to 600% increases in the number of links to those partners in the time period where it's active. And just in the last 6 months, our average partner increase is 30%, 37%. So what that means is high quality sources are being cited more often on Wikipedia because editors have access to them. I'm going to read another quote because I love our editor's own words. This is from a Wikipedia library user survey we ran. We need access to superior online databases to be able to write high-quality articles. Giving existing Wikipedians access to high-quality, reliable sources is a very easy way to improve Wikipedia. Doing more of that is awesome. So who are we partnering with? We're very fortunate to be partnering with some of the best journals and publishers in the world. So we have a partnership with JSTOR, which is the largest journal archive, with Elsevier, which is probably the most prestigious and perhaps most profitable science and medical journal. But it's a sign of the times that someone like Elsevier is willing to give us free access to some of their content, even if it's just a small step, you know, in the direction of free knowledge. We're excited that in the past couple of months we added De Gruyter, which is one of the largest German language publishers and our first major non-English content donation. So we're, you know, as we expand, we're going to be looking for not just English language sources, but sources from reliable sources in any language. This is just a graph of our 22 partners, which I like because it's fun to see them all in one place. And some of them are niche, like Find My Past, which is a genealogy database, or McFarland publishes academic monographs on Joss Whedon. You know, but others are JSTOR and Oxford University Press, and and the British Medical Journal, and lots of really, really prestigious partners. We're actually, I would say, we're no longer at the point where it's difficult to get new partnerships. Our bigger challenge is making sure we can get them into the hands of the editors, get them aware of it. And so we're kind of transitioning a little bit in that sense. One other quote that I like: "The goal of increasing access to sources that I cannot get through my local library has indeed helped me write better articles, and I've started producing good article quality work, in part because of TWL's efforts." That's also from our user survey. This is just a graph of what happens in kind of the better cases, but they're not uncommon. So newspapers.com has lots of newspapers, historical, easy to access, or rather easy to digest information. So we launched our partnership in August of this year. The month trailing, there had been a pretty flat-lined, about 1,000 links. And 6 months out, when we last checked the numbers of external links, the increase was nearly 4,000 links to newspapers.com. So an increase in over 300%. And sorry. The red line, that's the blue line I'm looking at. The red line is a neat feature. Newspapers.com in particular is cool because they allow users to create open access clippings. So we've also increased the number. One of the concerns with the Wikipedia library is, oh, that's great for our editors. They have access to the sources, but our readers still don't because they're paywalled. This is one example. Newspapers.com doing a really good job of creating ways to snippet, to excerpt in a fair use way, content so that the editors can so that our readers can actually read the content. And then just another kind of anecdote about creating quality. This is the list of featured articles that were created by a single Wikipedia editor who the Wikipedia library placed at a university and gave him library access. So by having access to George Mason University, prolific, awesome, amazing editor Veyvault wrote or empowered, by sharing his access, other editors to write 14 featured articles, and that's in the last year. So my takeaway for this is that reliable sources really are a foundation for quality. And simply, if you want more quality, you need to give the best editors unfettered access to the most reliable sources. And I guess we'll do questions at the end. And that's the Wikipedia Library Owl, designed by the inimitable Heather Walls.
Thank you, JP. Just taking care of the random phone call. So the next presentation is by Frank Schulenbrook. So we're going to do the presentation, switch over to his deck. Do you have your clip-on mic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. There we go.
Thank you. It feels very good to be back. To start with, about a year ago, I think, in January, I told Sue Gardner that I would leave the Wikimedia Foundation and take on this job to start Wiki Education Foundation. And now we're still in our first year, and I would like to give you a report of, first of all, I think I want to start with who we are, what we're doing, and I want to give a report of what we've done over the last 11 months. And, well, the title is How We Launch a New Organization That's Focused on Wikipedia's Quality. And the one thing that I think is important to ask is, why would we even bother about Wikipedia's quality? And I liked Eric's introduction. I liked that a lot because I can remember when I came to the United States 6 years ago, we were like 2 blocks farther up there, and someone said, well, quality, we don't have to do anything about. That happens naturally. right? So we need to really focus on the other things like participation, keeping the servers running, and so on. Now, my theory today is I think quality is more important than ever before. And now, why is that? Because even if fewer people visit the site, right, more people use the content. They use it through Google, they use it through Wikidata, they use it through whatever you take, whoever takes the Wikipedia content. I believe those numbers are growing. So providing those people who are kind of not directly on Wikipedia, but who use the content, providing them with quality is really important. It's one of the reasons. Now, who we are and what we do. Wiki Education Foundation, first of all, it's a spin-off of the Wikimedia Foundation. We started here in, I think, 2010 with a small pilot called Public Policy Initiative. And at some point we thought, okay, it's strong enough, we can spin it off, and it's going to be its own organization. And if I have to give the elevator pitch, what I say is, well, we're the bridge between Wikipedia and educational institutions in the United States and in Canada. We aim to improve Wikipedia's quality. Now, this is the team, and some of them are here today. Yay! And that's a photo that we took a couple of days ago in front of our office. So we're in the Presidio of San Francisco. Now, two assumptions about quality. First of all, I think of quality. There are many different things to think about quality. This is one of the ways to think about quality, I think, and that content quality has two dimensions. The first dimension is that's what we always think of first when I think of quality as a Wikipedian. I think of an individual article that someone improves or that improves over time, but many people collaborate. Right? So individual article quality. And then there's also the coverage and the quality across a topic area. So where you would say, okay, what's the overall quality in that area of, for example, sociology or a specific type of chemistry, right? Now, when you look at that second part, like the topic area, when you look at different topic areas, so far there are not a lot of people who have really measured across Wikipedia language versions, like, what does this look like? Are we weak? And we have some theories, we have some assumptions. We think, well, literature, we're not so good when it comes to articles about battleships. Wikipedia is like the first resource you should go to, right? Really good. So what I did, I tried to find an easy way to have a first grasp at that, and I looked at how many featured articles do we have in those areas, right? And I just grabbed a few where I thought, wow, this is interesting that we have that many featured articles in that area and only a few in those areas. And I have to say, there's nothing, first of all, with people working on something, volunteers working on something that they're excited about, there's nothing wrong with that, right? As a Wikipedian, I only write articles that I find interesting, right? And so here more people, more Wikipedians, obviously, this is English Wikipedia, more people find warfare, sport and recreation, video gaming interesting than people find geology, language, or business and economics interesting, right? That's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But now, for the readers, that means, well, you know, when you look at the quality, when you're interested in those topics, there's obviously something missing, right? And now we think, and this is assumption number 2. So that was assumption number 1. There are large parts on Wikipedia that have like dark spots. There's something missing. The quality is not as good. This assumption number 2, we've known, right? Well, by looking at the demographics, Students have always been the fuel of Wikipedia, and this is, I like this picture because there's something else in it. It's not only this notion of this person being a student, it's also being a nerd helps, right? So that's the group. Those are the people who are well represented on Wikipedia, and studies have shown, and I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details of what this all means. This is more like a placeholder here. Like, studies have shown that student editors improve Wikipedia's quality, right? We've done it. We're doing it as Wiki Education Foundation. Students as part of their classroom activity, they improve Wikipedia and quite significantly. So this is a higher score when the quality is better, and this is the amount of the number of articles that reach that higher score. So red in this case is good, and after, this is before, blue is before, and red is after. So the more students work on it, the better it gets. Now, engaging students. That's one of the things that I cannot highlight enough. Engaging students is one way. There are other ways, right? But this is one way of systematically improving a certain content area. And I find this quite amazing. I find this interesting because, wow, when I started editing Wikipedia in 2005, I thought, what would be a way, if you find a content area that is not well developed, what would be a way of really systematically improving that content area? Is there anything? And I think this is one answer to that question. And so here's how it works. And I think most of you already know this, right? Students write articles instead of writing a term paper. Term papers usually end up in someone's drawer. Articles that you write end up on Wikipedia. Your term paper gets maybe one reader or maybe two. When you write a Wikipedia article, you know, thousands of people read your article, and it's really great. It's a great experience. And actually, you know, students first hate it because it's so much more work, and then they love it. They send the link to their article to their grandparents, and because they're so excited about what they've created and that so many people access it, right? Okay. And now this is our role. So Wiki Education Foundation supports those students and their instructors. And I want to walk you through some of the things, how we support those people, and so instructors and students. And these are things that are new that we've created over the last 11 months. Now, first of all, we found out that creating just materials, educational materials that someone could take and someone would learn how to edit Wikipedia, that was not enough. That's not enough to get a student up to speed to contribute a high-quality article. We learned that. So those materials are still good, but you have to have something that you add to it. And those are, this is a psychology discipline-specific handout. And it explains, okay, if you want to write an article in psychology, we have medicine, sociology as well. We were going to add more to this series of handouts. If you're a student, if you want to write an article in this area, then here are some very specific hints on how you can do this and how you can succeed in doing it. Okay. The next thing is a tool. I'm incredibly excited about this because when we started this organization, we didn't know whether we would even be able to create something like a tool on a web server and stuff like that. So we didn't know whether we would succeed, and this is a great learning for us that we can build something like this. So we looked at a process map, and this tool actually, I think, will help us. It will be one of many tools that we'll be creating, and it will help us to scale this whole thing. And Eric asked me so I'm also going to talk about like what I think where we can get with this. But this tool will help us to scale it up. We started in 2010. We started with I think 200 students, right? And next term we're going to have 3,000. And we think we can get to 4,000, 5,000, maybe 10,000, right? I hope we can do that. And this tool will help us with that. I think it's going to play a really important part in that. Because what this tool does, in the past, we had someone in our office talk to the professor on the phone and walk that professor through assignment design and say, so here's what you do in week 2, here's what you shouldn't do in week 6, but in week 8. And this tool is the same thing, but without someone being on the phone, without putting staff time into it. This runs on a server. You go to the wizard.wikiedu.org. It connects directly through OAuth. It connects to Wikipedia. And if you're a professor, it takes you by the hand, walks you through the assignment design. At the same time, the benefit for us is we create certain standards. This is based on our best practices, right? And I think these tools are things how we can really scale it up. The next one is partnership with academic associations, because, well, how do those people find us? In the past, we had some organic growth. People would say, oh, I talked to my colleague, and he's using Wikipedia as a teaching tool, and it seems to be cool. Students are really excited about this whole thing. I'm going to do it as well. But how do you scale it up? Well, one of the things that we started doing is starting official partnerships with academic associations like the American Sociological Association and others, and going through their channels to get more people on board for our classroom program. And then this is something that yeah, we're proud of this. This is kind of cool because yeah, 68%. This is a super fresh number. We just got this like I think a week or two ago. This is last term. 68% female student editors. That's a huge thing, and well, you can get there by recruiting certain classes, right? You know, in certain areas you have more female students than you have male students, so you can actively steer people towards Wikipedia with this. And 68% is kind of an amazing number. And then one thing, and this is really, this is where it gets more real, right? You have those underrepresented areas in Wikipedia, and I think articles about women are one of those underrepresented areas. And this is an example where this is the after. I'm not showing you the before. You can go back into the version history. Susan LaFlèche-Picot, she's widely acknowledged as the first female Native American physician. She had a short article. Now the article is much better. It has much better structure, more sources. It's such a good article. And that's one of the examples of what students can do. And I think those students from Boston College, they can be super proud of their work here, and the many others. 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the end. So and then this is I have to say, you know, this morning I asked my wife. I said I'm going to talk about this number, 87% of the instructors. This is kind of a customer satisfaction rate kind of number. Do you think that's a good number or it's a bad number? And she said, well, you know, I'm thinking about, and at my workplace, we're at a lower number. I think this is a good number. I agree with my wife. I think 87% customer satisfaction rate is quite okay. So this number says, we asked the instructors, are you going to do this again? And 87% said, yes, we're going to do this again. It's totally worth our time. Now, I somehow didn't tell you the whole story. There's something else. There's something else I want to tell you. Truth is, in order to get where we are, we had to do a couple of things differently. The one thing that we had to do differently is we had to question some of the ways we or others have done things in the past. Usually, you're a Wikimedia organization, you want to create some piece of software, you hire a developer. We didn't do that. We hired Sage, he's our product manager. He works with outside contractors in Seattle. And this is also a model. I think it's maybe not the best model, maybe not the only model, but it's also a model. We created a new way of thinking about how we want to get our new software, our new tools on our web server. And there are many other examples of questioning the ways you or others have done things in the past. The second thing is stop doing things that don't work. Even if it hurts. Sometimes it really hurts. We just changed the way we're thinking about the ambassador program. We had campus ambassadors who would go into the classroom, who would explain something. They would be responsible for the whole student experience. We changed it. We split it up into smaller pieces, task-based. We think that's more like Wikipedians want to work, and it hurt at the same time because I was the person who kind of came up with this idea of like campus ambassadors a couple of years ago. At that point, we didn't know what it was, but like stopping something that you started at some point can hurt, and at the same time, it's good to do so. And then focus on the things that you really care about. We're not, as an organization, we're not doing 10 different programs. We're doing one. We think it's really important to be good at the one thing that you really care about. And then you can go from there, and maybe you can add certain things, but not doing 10 things at a time and doing 5 out of those 10 things in a crappy way. So focus. Now, where does this kind of culminate? I think back to the beginning of the presentation. I think again, quality is one of the upcoming topics. More people use our content, so content quality is just really important. And I would like to see more organizations that do more stuff like this. And the one thing that I want to end with is I want us all to keep in mind that actually, yes, we're doing this as an organization, but like even long before we ever started about thinking about this organization, there were volunteers around the world. I mean real Wikipedians who care a lot about quality and who improve quality every day. And I think that's really important also to keep in mind. So please support the existing community with like Wikipedia Library and initiatives like that. I think I'm using Wikipedia Library myself. I think it's one of the greatest things ever. Thank you.
So we're going to go into questions very quickly, but before we do that, I just wanted to sort of crystallize a few takeaways from these presentations. So the one thing that I just want to highlight is without measurement, we're blind. Without knowing the quality of the content in our projects, initiatives that are focused on quality can be effectively optimized. Like you can do things that are important, that have impact, but without understanding that impact, you can't improve, you cannot iterate. So the stuff that Aaron was talking about, as well as some of the extended ways that we can build scalable quality measurement into our projects and into our work, I think is the #1 thing to take away from this set of presentations. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight is that consistent with what Frank was just saying, like this is what our community has been thinking about for many, 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 many years and is thinking about every single day. Like this is what volunteer contributors are focused on, is like assessing the quality of articles, improving it, building tools. If we want to mitigate negative effects of that, which there are, and at the same time build on the positive, we have to work together. So with that said, I also want to give Siko Buters a quick opportunity to talk about the strategy track research. Do we have Siko? There she is. And here's your clicker.
So there's been a little bit of discussion here at Metrics in the past about the 2015 strategy initiative. One of the things that's underway with the initiative so far right now is a few track teams that are starting to really go out and gather data and intelligence around particular focus areas. The strategy track team that I'm working on with Stephen, Guillaume, Aaron, and Hytham at the moment is focused on content contributors, and we're just entering our first phase. Now, this first few months is really about sort of looking for what data and intelligence is already out there, so that then we can start to determine where are the gaps and where might, you know, we really focus future knowledge gathering. To gather this intelligence, we're focusing on really two main questions. The first one, who are Wikimedia contributors, both today and in the future? And then what do they need to be successful? Now, why does this matter for quality content? All three of the initiatives that have talked today really had to ask this same question, right? Who is the contributor that I'm focused on, and what do they need to be successful? Aaron's thinking about vandal fighters and tool builders, and he and his team are looking at, you know, what do they need to improve quality content? The same with Jake and the Wikipedia library. They're trying to support really active article writers. What do they need to be successful? And the same with Frank and Wiki Ed. They're looking at students who are new to Wikipedia and are filling all sorts of content gaps. What do they need to be successful? We'd like to support more initiatives like this, and in order to do that, we need to gather more knowledge about our contributors and what they need. We could use your help. If folks have data or information already out there that can help us answer these questions, please send it to us. We're cataloging, we're starting to pull out the most important pieces of data. My email address, Stephen Laporte's email address, we'd love to hear from you and see what you've got.
Thanks a lot, Seeker. And I would ask the speakers who are in San Francisco to come up, and let's take a few questions.
This is directed at Frank. So you're looking at students as, I guess, young people, or people that are, I guess, typically considered learners. Over 160 million people retired last year, and that's increasing. And I'm wondering if, I know you're focused on your area, but do you ever consider people like retirees that want things to do, that are lifelong learners, as a target for your programs?
Not at this point. Right now, we're really focused on people who are younger. What we know about those people is that they have the tech skills to deal with this Wikipedia world. Personally, I started back in the days when I was involved with Wikimedia Germany. I started a project in Germany where we worked with people age group between 50 and 70 years old, and we had that same assumption that is behind your question, and we wanted to get them to edit Wikipedia. We couldn't get that done. It was not successful. They lacked the tech skills, actually. Okay. Yeah. Sure. No.
I have a quick answer to your question. There's a program in the Czech Republic that has been very successful with senior citizens in Prague. It's on the blog. I encourage you to look at it, and I hope that others can follow up in their footsteps. Over half of the participants continued to edit after the program was over, which is much more than typical student programs.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's a project that we also funded in IEG, and they basically sort of built off what the Germans had learned and focused on digitally literate seniors, right? So going out to senior centers where folks already had, computer access and already had some sort of basic computer and internet skills, and then even have been playing with things like using Facebook ads to target seniors. So again, getting people who are already online. Really small sample for that 50% retention, but some interesting findings.
That's where they are these days, right? Okay. Who else?
Yeah, Dario here. I have a question for Jake. So I'm a huge fan of source-reader work. Yay, great stuff. But I want to expand on one of the risks that you hinted at during your presentation, which is related to the fact that we're partnering with scholarly publishers and mostly published paywall contents. So if the project is successful, actually, let me start one step back. We know that one of the core policies of Wikipedia is about verifiability. So Wikipedia is not about the truth. It's about giving readers the ability of looking up references and verifying that the statements that we talk about are actually backed by references. If the project is successful, as you suggested, we're going to be flooding Wikipedia with paywalled references. We're going to skew the verifiability of articles towards contents that readers, the vast majority of the world population, cannot get access to. By doing this, I think that there's a reason we might be breaking the verifiability chain. And I want to hear from you how you think we're going to mitigate that problem, and B, are we partnering with open access publishers to balance that bias?
Yeah, a couple points there, and this has definitely come up before. The first is on English Wikipedia, just as a matter of policy, verifiability has nothing to do with ease of verifiability. You know, it would be the same for an out-of-print book that exists in one person's garage as it would be for a paywall journal from Elsevier. So just as a point of policy, it's not true. That doesn't mean that it doesn't create significant challenges. So then the next response is typically we have an encyclopedia to write today, and we have to use the information that's available. And I can't speak globally, but with my familiarity with English Wikipedia, the decision has always been we are committed to using the best sources regardless of their OA-ness. Now, so that's where we are, and this is a pragmatic stance. But I know that it's a little bit of a perhaps an unsavory alliance if you view publishers as really the or paywall publishers as gatekeepers to knowledge, which is, you know, in many ways true. But you can also look at change in evolution. That publishers are willing to partner with us recognizes they realize people are going online to Wikipedia to start their research. It means that they're starting to shift. You know, just this past month, Nature changed to or is changing. The journal Nature is changing not to an OA policy, but to free-to-read policy. JSTOR, like the New York Times, has now, you can read, I think, 3 free articles every 14 days. So there are changes, and I think we're meeting publishers where they are to write the encyclopedia we want to write the best we can today. But it's not something I'm ideologically proud of. It's just something that's kind of pragmatically in our interest for sharing knowledge right now, and I'm sure you could have the same kinds of theoretical debates about Wikipedia Zero and, you know, zero rating, but well, I don't know. Perhaps you could, but I think it comes down to where can we make the most impact? Yeah.
You didn't answer my last question though. Are we planning on partnering with open access publishers?
Well, they're already open access, so the content's available. I mean, how can we?
Let's take it offline.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
There's just a quick follow-up question from IRC. Are we going to see a more coordinated open access strategy across the foundation, you know, to sort of pair with this? I don't know if you're the right person to answer that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an opportunity. There's room to improve there because I know that the Wikipedia library itself can't do it. You know, Jana's been doing great work in legal and lots of efforts at raising awareness. IEG is funding a program called Open Access Reader, and the Open Access Signaling Project on English Wikipedia is really developed, but there is no coordination really centrally. So I think there is room for that.
I think a lot of this stuff will have to happen at the community level, but at the same time there are some key strategic potential partners, like the Public Library of Science. The Public Library of Science is the single biggest open access publisher. They're a nonprofit. They're very mission aligned with us. A lot of PLOS resources are used in Wikipedia. And they also build technology. And in fact, they are now starting to use Visual Editor. The table editing component of Visual Editor was contributed upstream to us by Public Library of Science. because they have very similar needs in editing and writing scientific papers that we do in editing and writing Wikipedia articles. And beyond that, I think they will have similar needs in understanding the quality of our resources and other similar shared concerns. So I think they are key strategic partners that we need to build better and stronger relationships with.
Eric, can I? So to Dario's question, there's a bigger question to be asked, right? And it's a key question for us to be asking over the next few months and years as we think about future communities, both current and future communities, and through the lens of knowledge, whose knowledge is represented, and how is it represented. So the biggest paywall source that Wikipedia is built on is the book, right? Forget journals, forget anything else, the book. And how many knowledge systems in the world are represented by books, and how we access those books are a key question to ask. So as we think about this, and you're exactly right, Dario, to bring up this question, these are the kinds of questions to ask, but they have many different dimensions. And as we think about them, we're going to have to think about strategy-based stealth, right? So I look at Jake's work, and this is how we talk about it, that some of these institutional partnerships that we're building are sort of strategies of stealth, that we start building those partnerships because it's a pragmatic need right now, but there is a future possibility, and actually currently already with the kinds of conversations Jake is having, where he's opening up the debate around the principles and values of true open access. So we need to be both pragmatic and strategic at the same time, and ask ourselves some of these bigger questions around knowledge representation.
Final question or comment?
I just want to say two comments about the discussions that we just had. One is that there's a big difference between a book and an article. I think article is written for free by the authors, and a book is written and then the author will be paid, maybe not enough, but that's like a big difference between academic publication and having a book. The other problem is that I think we need to be really careful when we put our name next to a publisher like Elsevier. I can see why Elsevier is excited to have partnership with us. Having many of their articles that are more and more people are stopping to reference to in academic publishing, like on a place like Wikipedia, is pretty strong. So I don't want to be very pessimistic, but I want to say that there is an advantage for such publishers to work with us, and we have to be really careful when we put our brand next to Elsevier brand.
Yeah, no, that I agree with, and there's a reason we don't pay for this access, which is because we're giving a ton in terms of exposure is what these partners receive. There's clear self-interest there, and yeah, I'm not naive about that. I don't know a better solution that works today than this, and I consider myself an open access advocate, and I agree with all the economic challenges and problems. I don't know what that means for us, how we should do something differently, aside from just commit to talking and committing and pushing and advocating.
And also, I think it's important to think of the mission of the foundation as being about the sum of all knowledge, and the sum of all knowledge includes things that are hidden in books that are not open, that are in journals that are not open. And I think we would do ourselves a disservice if we didn't make it easier for our communities to engage with all knowledge wherever it may exist and whatever forms it may exist, while at the same time being strong advocates for more openness and more freedom across publications. But we have to cut the conversation short a little bit since we're already a few minutes over. So I sense that this is potentially a topic to dig deeper into specifically, since it's generated a fair bit of comments here. But thank you all so much for coming today, and see you all next time. And happy Wikipedia Day!